Hey guys, this is Ryan from resume2offer.com. Hope everyone's doing well. Today's video, I thought we would do a little bit of a change up, and today we're going to be talking about how to become an SDR in FinTech Sales. Okay, so that's going to be what we're going to be talking about today. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. This is kind of the place if you have questions about how to get a job and everything, this is the place to be. So I've been in the tech recruiting, staffing, hiring manager, talent acquisition phase for the past 12, 13 years. I've been an SDR, I've been an AE. I currently work at a fintech company, kind of an AI go-to-market company that's quickly expanding. And I'm kind of in between being a recruiter and an AE. They're kind of a hybrid role. So that's kind of my background. And I've hired, I've helped out like thousands of SDRs actually get their jobs either through group calls or one-on-one calls, or sometimes I just get people to write in and tell me that they found the content helpful and they were able to get the job because of it. Used to be in cybersecurity, so hence there's a lot of videos on that. Now I'm in the fintech space, so working on that as of right now. So today it's going to be, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of the blueprint that I used to get a job in the fintech space and how you can apply it too. And also, I've coached and taught a lot of people on this subject. So I'm going to tell you some of the things that are pitfalls and some areas where there's friction and some obstacles that the common SDR faces or people trying to get into the space and how they can't do it. So we're going to kind of review some of those. Okay, so first thing is the modern job market is a little bit different, especially if you're trying to break into fintech. And you're right out of college, or maybe you're pivoting, or maybe you've done sales in the past, or maybe you've never done sales and you're trying to get into the space. What can you do? So the modern job space is a little bit of quantity meets quality, okay? What I mean by that is you can't be doing like, I sent out 5 applications and I'm waiting a month to hear back and nobody heard back from me. That's not really the case anymore. You can't really just use like Craigslist or Indeed or things like that nature. It is a numbers game. You have to apply to 50 to 200 jobs. Okay, that's very key, 50 to 200, but also you have to have a high quality resume. If you're not familiar with the applicant tracking system, the applicant tracking system is the ATS system. It is basically the tool that recruiters use in their day-to-day. It is the software that houses all the resumes, job ads, communication profiles of everybody who's ever applied in the company. And it's our main communication tool with candidates, okay? What the ATS does is that it uses AI to shorten the list. So let's say I work for a big company. Let's say I work for ZoomInfo, and I get about 5,000 applications a day for various positions. I do not have time to go through every single application or resume. So what it does is it scans all the different resumes that comes in and it funnels them. It basically looks at a few different keywords. There's a few other things too, but keywords, candidate personas, a lot of different little elements. Keywords are the most known, but it looks at between 10 to 30 keywords, matches them, and it gives you a probability number. Probability number on how likely you are to be a fit for the role and how likely you are to succeed in the role. Now, that's very important. You have to make sure that you're above an 80% to even be considered these days in the tech space. Not every role, not every industry, but in tech sales specifically, you got to make sure that you're actually above 80%. So that's number one, is your resume has to have the specific keywords and it funnels down, okay? Then you have to make sure that your resume has a specific design and it's a little bit like a marketing piece. It's eye-catching, it stands out. It really entices the recruiter to want to give you a call. That's the second element. So then there's also the numbers game that we discussed, okay? You're not doing just 3 to 5 applications, which is what typically I hear. I hear people like, well, tell me about your prospecting. Tell me a little bit about that. Well, I sent out 5 applications. Okay. Frankly, you should be doing 5 applications a day. I would say a good benchmark is you're doing 6 to 10 applications on a daily basis. If you don't have a job, if you're unemployed currently and you're really in between stuff, you should double that number. It should be about 20 applications a day. Usually 50 to 200. I would say that around that is a great sweet spot for you. Definitely can get a job if you have that amount, a list of 200 companies, okay, and just go after those. And what you want to do is be an SDR before you're in the actual role. You want to plan your work that way. You want to work your plan. You want to segment your time management skills. You want to have the right tools available. You want to have your resume available. You want to have the templates for communication available. All these assets so that you can kind of get into the rhythm. So let's talk about how to pick the right companies. You want to make sure you're picking companies that are on the growth trend, that are above 10% growth year over year, that are usually, ideally over 3 years old. 80% of businesses fail within the first year, 90% of businesses fail within the second year. The third year, that's where they've kind of been in the market and long enough where they've accumulated clients. They know that they're doing well. And that's where the hockey stick growth kind of comes in. It's really between the 3-year marker and the 8-year marker. That's a great place to be at. So I would look at companies that are growing that way, or large scale companies that have been in business 5, 10, 15, 20 years that have great brand recognition. That's a really good way to go too. So for example, I said ZoomInfo, HubSpot. There's a bunch of different ones. You can go after those. Those are some enterprise companies. And if you're trying to get into FinTech sales, then you want to have that brand recognition on your resume. The other way you can go is the S&B companies. Those are on the major growth trend. I would target those companies. You want to look at 2 different groups. One's in your local area in like a 50-mile radius. And then the other group are ones that are, hey, they could be anywhere. They're in usually major metropolitan areas, New York, Bay Area, Dallas. But they hire for SDRs all around the US. So you can look at that. A good cheap thing you can do is look in your local area, look at the SDRs in your area, and look at the companies that they work for. That's a great place to kind of I would use that as part of my, toolbox. Start reaching out to those people as well. So what do? First, you have to find the companies. You want to make a list of 200 FinTech companies. You want to do ones in the local area. You want to do ones that are other SDRs in your other area. You want to do ones that are just hiring remotely, that are enterprise level. Second thing is you got to redo the resume. Okay, that's a big thing. You want to make sure that your resume is ATS optimized. There's a few different ways you can do it. I teach it in length. I have my own course. You can go to my website. You can hire me for a one-on-one. I can teach you exactly what to do, or I can do it for you. That is one of my services. That's one idea. You can do some research on how to do it too. But you want to make sure that it's ATS optimized, and the design element is that other key point. A lot of people don't realize that the design is one aspect. There's a lot of designs you can find out there. I have some free design templates that you can use through my Google Drive, okay? So, you can use that too. Use those designs, they're completely free in those templates. Quick thing on keywords to put on your resume, okay? So some tips to do. Number 1, tools are super important. You want to have 3 categories of tools on your resume. 1, a certain CRM. 2, a lead generation tool. This could be Apollo or Seamless or ZoomInfo. A third one is you got to make sure you have LinkedIn Sales Navigator on your resume. And there's just too much competition these days to make sure that you have a high probability. You want to make sure you have LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Another key thing that I see in a lot of people who, especially coming out of college, they all put founder or, co-owner or owner on a side hustle that they were doing. And then I understand nowadays, everybody's got side hustles. I get it. You don't want to put that on your resume. Why? The recruiters are taught, yes, they have to fill the role very fast, right? But also one of the key metrics that they're looking at is retention in the company. It's how they get paid. Is higher retention, the more payment they get. So you want to make sure, and they've done studies where the people who have had owner, CEO, founder, that type of verbiage on their resume, they only stay in the role 6 months or less. So the recruiter, when they see that, they'll be smiling and pleasant, but they're automatically going to put you in the pass file. So make sure you don't do that. Instead of putting like founder or co-owner or something like that, just put business development. It's a better way to go. It's a better title to go, and it'll rank you higher on the ATS system, okay? Okay, so resume, talked about what type of companies. The third thing is the interview skills, okay? Now this is something I can help you with. Sure, if you do a one-on-one, I can teach you how to do that, but just some basics that you can do. There's a great resource, Toastmasters. Toastmasters is completely free. You can also put it on your resume. It's a great resource to practice communication and public speaking. Another way of doing this is just practice, okay? You want to practice for some of the questions that come up in interviews. 3 most common questions that come up in interviews is number 1, tell me about yourself. That's number 1. Number 2 is why us, kind of like why our company, what resonated with you. The third one is, why tech sales, which is kind of a 2-part question. It's really like why tech and why sales. Okay, so common things that I keep hearing is that why do they want to do tech sales? It's like, well, I want to get paid more. Okay, that's fine. It's a very vague and surface level answer. And again, the recruiter is getting trained because they want retention. They want you to stay there longer. And the people that stay there the longer are the ones that have a deep layer of motivation. It could be, it's okay to make money, that's totally fine, but it's something where they're looking for something that resonates with you when it comes to the company, the product, the leadership, the core values, the mission. Somewhere, it could be all of them or one of them. But they're looking for something where it really resonates with you, because the people that are like with the mission, or they're with like, you know what, I really love the company culture. Like, it's more than just money, it's deeper than just money. Those are the ones that really stand out and make it through the interviews. And they have the highest retention, so the recruiter looks even better. So you want to make sure that when you're answering that question, it's at a deeper level. Something on the FinTech side, when you're doing your interview, you want to make sure that you're using the same verbiage. You want to be using kind of buzzwords. So you want to do research on communication within FinTech. Okay, there's like CFP, Certified Financial Planner. Okay, there's RIA, Registered Investment Advisor. There, you want to know the communication styles of broker dealers. You want to know the communication of RIAs. You want to know the communication style. What market do they service into? So I would recommend that when you're doing your outbound prospecting for all these different companies, let's say you're doing like 10 applications a day, right? Over a week, that's 50 applications. Do it in a segment of a market. Make sure that when you're segmenting it, it's the same buyer persona. So meaning that that group of companies that you're applying to and you might get interviews with, they all service a side of the area. So maybe they're all SaaS companies in FinTech, or maybe they're all B2B and they work more with CFP, Certified Financial Planners, on the operations side, on support side, or maybe they work in the FinTech space with more the investing and the automation for for more stocks and stuff like that, like crypto and Coinbase, right? So every week you change it up with a buyer persona. So that way, when you get interviews, you can prepare the interview kind of the same way for all of them at the same time. You don't have to keep redoing it. You're learning knowledge for one group, and that you can reuse that for every single interview stage. Okay, so that's my suggestion. So you want to do your research on the buyer personas in FinTech. Another way of saying that is the audience and the market that they talk to. And you want to make sure that you're preparing and you just do some research. This is a great way. You can YouTube it, Google it, ChatGPT it, and just learn some of the basics. You don't need to be a master of this stuff, but basic framework of that market, how they service that market, what they do to earn money and revenue in that market. That's a really key thing. And you want to make sure that you're prepared for that in the interview so you can bring it up, because it's like, hey, if they ask you the question, if we give you the job in the first 90 days, what are you going to do? Great. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to find our targets. I'm going to do lead generation. I'm going to use our tools that you guys have already, and how I would do it so I can plan out my first 90 days. So over the next 90 days, this is what I'm going to do. Over the first year, this is where I want to be. Over the next 2 to 3 years, this is where we're going to be. Okay? That's an example of, you want to be very specific. It's in a linear fashion, but also it answers the question. So I hope that was helpful. I think that's good for today. Yeah. Anyway, more to come. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you'd like to, you can reach out to me through my website. There are courses and other programs and coursework that I would recommend. Feel free to check my website. Check it all out. Hit me up on LinkedIn as well. Happy to help in any way, shape, or form. You can send me your resume. I'll give you some free advice to optimize it as well. And hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, okay? Cheers.